Hello everyone, welcome back. So, in our early classes, we were discussing about Kerala Accounts Code. So, let's continue. Today, we are going to discuss about expenditure on public works. Expenditure on public works, where the works are under the administrative control of Public Work Department, shall be classified in accounts according to certain principles. We are like first one, expenditure on the construction of government non-residential buildings for administrative and office purposes will be accounted for under the major head 2059 public work or 4059 capital outlay on public work. Then, expenditure on construction of buildings for purely functional purposes, such as schools, colleges, hospitals, will be accounted for under the relevant major heads closely connected with functions such as 2202 General Education, 4202 Capital Outlay on Education, Sports, Art and Culture, 2210 Medical and Public Health, 4210 Capital Outlay on Medical and Public Health. Then, expenditure on the maintenance and repairs of all government non-residential building, whether for administrative offices or functional purposes, will however be accounted under the major head 2059 Public Works. Expenditure on government residential buildings will be accounted for under major head 2216 housing or 4216 capital outlay on housing as the case may be in the sector social and community services. Expenditure on roads, bridges, being in the nature of communication services, will be accounted for under the major head 3054 roads and bridges, 5059 capital outlay on roads and bridges, as the case may be in the subsector transport and communication of the sector, economic sector. Where the building are not under the administrative control of the Public Work Department, it is open to government to prescribe the expenditure on construction and repairs up to certain monetary limits may be incurred by civil departments. In such cases where the expenditure can be identified with a program, that is minor head relating to a function, major head, it should be accounted for under the detailed head works below the minor head. Where the minor head is not identifiable, it should be classified under the residuary minor head or the expenditure of the relevant major head. Expenditure on staff quarters, that is construction as well as maintenance, forming part of a scheme or project, such as those of doctors, nurses in a hospital, will normally be accounted for as expenditure of the program under the relevant functional major head medical and not under the major head housing. Rents recovered on account of building in charge of departments other than Public Works Department should be treated as department receipts and not as receipts of Public Works Department. When any land or building not belonging to Public Works Department is hired by another department for occupation for any other public work, the rent should be paid by the department concerned. Expenditure on petty construction repairs connected with building, which is under administrative control of a civil department, should be debited to the minor head work under the relevant department major head. If the expenditure on any works exceed rupees 1000. Now let's see how to account the contributions made by or to government. Contributions made by central or state government to district board, municipality, etc. shall be debited as expenditure or shown as receipt. A grant for the construction of school shall be debited to 2202 general education A grant for construction of drainage system to 2215 water supply and sanitation, and a grant for the construction of a road to 3054 roads and bridges. A grant given for general purpose, such as a grant to make good a deficit or compensation for revenue received, shall be classified under 2217 Urban Development and 3604 Compensation and Assignment to Local Bodies and Panchayat Raj Institutions. Now let's see what are the things coming under the classification of transaction under suspense. Items of receipts and payments which cannot at once be taken to final head of receipts or charges owing to lack of information as to their nature. Now let's see what are the things coming under the classification of transaction under suspense. Items of receipt and payments which cannot at once be taken to final head of receipts or charge owing to lack of information as to the nature or for any other reason may be held temporarily under the head 8658 suspense account in the sector L suspense and maintenance. Charges written back on disallowance from exchange accounts or charges disallowed from the inward settlement accounts which are not susceptible of final adjustment against some other head are also maintained. What are the things coming under the cost of land acquisition? The expenditure on acquisition of land by Public Works Department for general purpose shall be recorded under the head 2059 Public Works. Other expenditure 4059 capital outlay on public work acquisition of land. Under the local ruling under Article 40, it says the detailed rules governing the payment of municipal and other local taxes on building etc. occupied by the departments of government or government services under their administrative control are laid down in Article 117 of Kerala Financial Code. The cost of pay, allowances, contingencies of other scientific parties shall be borne by the respective civil department concerned, while the expenditure incurred on special transport arrangement made by the defence service shall be debited to defence estimates. Accounting for transaction pertaining to more than one major head are as follows. For the sake of convenience or for other special reasons, receipts or charges pertaining to more than one head of account may be booked in the first instance under one of the heads concerned, but the portion creditable or debitable to the other head or heads involved should be transferred from the former head to the latter head before the accounts of the year are closed. Where the charges for the supply of water from irrigation canals are consolidated with the land revenue demand, the consolidated rates in the first instance credited to the head 0029 land revenue and approximate amount calculated as the share due to the irrigation is transferred to irrigation revenue head. Under example, the interest paid by government on loans is initially taken under the head 2049 interest payment and necessary transfers from this heads are made subsequently in respect of amounts deductible to commercial department by credit to 0049 initial receipts. How to account for losses? Losses of public money, stores or other properties of government shall be accounted for in accordance with the rules in Chapter 6 of Auditor General's Account Code. Recoveries of overpayment shall be adjusted in the accounts in accordance with the procedures set out in Article 22 of Volume 4 of Controller and Auditor General's Account Code. As a general rule, all expenditure pertaining to any department, including a commercial department, should be recorded on the expenditure side of account only. Now let's see what are the things coming under correction of accounts. If an item which properly belongs to a revenue or expenditure head is wrongly classified under revenue, or the amount written off have been thoroughly examined by the internal audit section, or the accountant general is personally satisfied that the item have been outstanding for over 5 years, that the dead end has been reached in all cases, and that the write-off is unavoidable, and the accountant general has also satisfied himself that the outstanding is result of bookkeeping error only, then the amount can be written off by the accountant general, and it should be reported to the Controller and Auditor General of India annually by 10th November, along with the certificates regarding the fulfillment of all important and necessary conditions. A quarterly report on items written off by the group officer under the powers delegated to him should be submitted to Accountant General for review. The Accountant General should report to the Controller General on the write-off of suspense half yearly on 10th May and 10th December. Now let's discuss briefly the scope of standard detail heads. What do you mean by salary? Salaries will include pay allowances in all forms paid to officers and staff, and the expenses on leave, travel, concessions. What is wage? Wages will include wages of laborers and of the staff at present paid out of contingency. Let's see what is travel expense. Travel expense will cover all expenses on account of travel on duty, including conveyance and fixed traveling allowances, but excluding leave travel concession, which falls under salaries. Next is medical reimbursement. Medical reimbursement includes all expenditure on account of reimbursement of medical expenditure of government services. Next, office expenses. It includes all the contingent expenditures for running an office, such as furniture, postage, purchase of maintenance of office machines, equipments, telephone, electricity, water charges, etc. What do you mean by payment for professional and special services? Payment for professional and personal services, special services includes charges for legal service, consultation fees, remuneration to examiners, invigilators for conducting exams, remuneration to casual artists, etc. Rent rates, taxes, royalty all includes payment of rent for hired buildings, municipal rates, taxes, etc. Publications. Publications include expenditure on printing of office codes and manuals and other documents, whether priced or non-priced, but will exclude expenditure on printing of publicity material. Advertising means sales and publicity expenditure, and it includes commissions to agents, printing of publicity material, etc. Hospitality expenses. It's also known as sumptuary expenditure or allowances. Will include entertainment, allowances of high dignitaries, expenditure on refreshments served in interdepartment meetings, conferences, etc. What do you mean by major work, minor work, etc.? Major work, minor work, etc. can be classified with reference to the classification of major minor work in Central Public Works Account Code. Machinery and equipment tools and plants includes machinery, equipments, apparatus, etc. Motor vehicle includes purchase and maintenance of transport vehicles such as ambulance vans, which can be used for functional activities as distinct from those used for running an office. Maintenance includes maintenance of record expenditure on maintenance of works, machinery, etc. Thank you.